Hearing from Tonya Porter again, the registered nurse who just happened to be there, ran in to help when this all went down. Alex, continue that.
Yeah, Jake, just a heroic individual standing by me right here this morning. And Tonya, you were saying, again, this first day for this Amtrak, a historic train ride. You saw this train for the first time along Interstate 5, and then chaos.
Chaos. Once someone saw that I had still my badge on, they said, "Oh, here's a nurse, and they literally took me by the arm and brought me to some people that were laying underneath the train that was hanging over the overpass. And so I'm trying to assess, what's going on and who's hurt the worst, along with other people that were there. And the next thing I know, people are yelling at me to get out of there because the train hadn't been secured yet. I felt some wet on me, and they're saying that it's diesel fuel. You need to get out of there. You need to get out of there. So we moved, but we couldn't leave the patients there. We had to move the patients. So some folks came, took the patients, moved them out of the way. We moved them off to the side. Just kind of evaluated who was hurt the worst. I had a patient that looked like it appeared that he had some neurological issues, maybe a traumatic brain injury, some other injuries. There were some other folks down the line that were in serious condition. We had to kind of go through the triage. Who's hurt worse? Is this a red? Is this a black? Is this a yellow? But everyone came together. It was amazing. Folks that had no medical training were going to their cars, finding blankets and bandages and sweaters, coats, whatever we could put on the patients. It was amazing.
Wow. And in terms of emergency response, I know every hospital in the area, every medical center, including yours, rushed to the scene as soon as possible. How long was it before a large number of emergency responders were able to get to this scene in what is a somewhat rural area?
Well, I know that I had been I think there's at least 15 to 20 minutes before any responders were there. At least we couldn't see them because they were trying to get through all the traffic behind us. And then I'd say a full 30 minutes before someone was actually able to say what category is this patient, what's going on. I know I was there with the gentleman that I had for at least 45 minutes, and then we were able to get him up on a gurney, get a seat collar on him, and get him transferred out.
What a difficult scenario for a nurse, though. I mean, you didn't have access to all of the equipment that you use on a daily basis. What was going through your mind?
I thought, what do I do? I don't have a stethoscope. I don't have a blood pressure cuff. I don't have any. What do I do? So the only thing I could think of is the ABCs: check the airway, make sure the patient's breathing, see if the neural status is intact. Find out where the injuries are. Just make sure that his airway is stabilized, and then just hang there with him until help came to make sure he didn't stop breathing, or that, his injuries didn't become worse, or he didn't have more bleeding someplace.
Wow. And from a personal perspective, you mentioned your car could have very easily been involved in this wreck as well.
It was very scary. We had a red car in front of us, and then there was another car in front of that car, and the one in front of the one right in front was one that had been smashed. It was a white truck, had been smashed by the locomotive. So we were just right there. It was crazy. I couldn't believe just a few seconds in either direction, it would have been a completely different story.
Well, Tonya Porter with Madigan Army Medical Center, we are so grateful that you are okay, and so thankful for your heroic actions. I'm hearing that Joyce Taylor in the studio has a question. Joyce, what were you hoping to ask?
Tonya, you might recall that you talked with us live by phone just shortly after this happened Monday, and I know a lot of our viewers are wondering, you told us about a little a boy you were helping who you thought maybe had a broken leg, and you told us about his father who was there that also was injured. I know a lot of people are wondering if you have any information about maybe what happened with them, and if you could tell us just some of what people said to you that you met that were involved in that.
Now, Joyce was speaking of, you had spoken with them on the phone shortly after this incident occurred, and there was a boy that you spoke of and his father potentially.
Yeah.
Do you have any update on their condition, or do you know whatever happened with them?
I have no idea. All I know is that the young man, I think there was something with his leg, and his father was laying just behind the patient that I was with. They got all three of the ones that were laying underneath the train out of the area, but I really have no idea what happened with them, what hospital they went to, anything like that.
Describe for us what you were hearing when you get out of your car. I imagine in shock with what you're witnessing. What are you hearing at this scene when you first arrive among the people that are present?
Oh my goodness. You can't really, I don't know. Everyone was kind of shouting different things. I remember someone shouting, "We need first aid kits, we need first aid kits." Somebody else was shouting, "Who's a nurse? Is there any nurses?" You know, but everything is kind of melded together. It's hard to decipher, you know, what anybody was saying at one time, because everyone was saying everything at the same time, you know.
Well, we so appreciate you stepping in, and yeah, again, thank you for your time and your work on, I mean, in the office and outside on the interstate on what was a truly devastating story. So thank you.
Thank you.
Joyce and Jake, we'll send it back to you.
It's incredible, Alex, too, because at Madigan, these nurses, these professionals, they see a lot.
Yeah.
Because they see some of the worst injuries that come into Madigan Army Medical Center. And yet something like this, how do you prepare for something like this that she's faced? What extraordinary work that these people have done.
Hero among us, right there.
right
Tonya
there.
Porter. Alex, thank you. Thanks for the updates
Absolutely.
out there. Yep, we'll continue to check back in too on how I-5 is doing.